Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our seminar tonight. We're broadcasting on Facebook from our office in Sarasota, Florida, and thank you for joining us. And I want to thank my staff for setting up all the technology. They're sitting around, Tammy over here and Jennifer over here. Thank you, guys. We're going to be talking about bioidentical hormones tonight. I am Dr. Watts. I'm the director for the Renewal Point. But not only bioidentical hormones, but how can they help us as we get older? How can we use bioidentical hormones to help us live a healthier life and a longer life as well? I'll use myself as an example because I benefited quite a bit from bioidentical hormones. I started off as a general practitioner back out of my internship in Tarpon Springs. This has been over 40 years ago. And I had an ER, I had a nursing home at that time. I came to Sarasota in 1980, began my OBGYN practice, and I was doing a lot of hormones at that time, usually synthetics at that time we were using. And we started worrying about them because we saw some things coming in from Europe that they weren't good, that they were bad, they were causing cancer, heart disease, stuff like that. We started we were noticing that Europe was using bioidentical hormones, and we switched our practice to that and found it to be amazing. Our patients were doing better. They had less side effects. They had no decrease of risk of heart disease and cancer and things such as that. So we're going to go over that tonight with you, and we'll see what happens. This is we're going to talk about male and female hormones. What are bioidentical hormones? How do hormones help us in age management? What about testing? This is part one of this series, and part two, we're going to go over stressor hormones. We'll do that in about a month on our website. Is that correct? On our website, we'll broadcast over that. So at the Renewal Point, we use our four cornerstones. These are the four cornerstones right here: hormone balancing, physical fitness, nutrition, detoxification. We're going to be talking about, of course, tonight, hormone balancing. But how do these things synergize and help us age? In fact, you would think if they've done any testing on this, we should be able to prove that this actually helps. So what I'm saying, we should be able to prove, right? So colleges have done research on this. Here's one where they took a lot of seniors from about, I think it was in the 50s to 79 years old, and they changed three of these. They changed hormone balancing, physical fitness, and nutrition. And they followed these for over 10 years, and they found that these people had increased energy up to the rate of 83%. They had memory increase of 59, productivity 65, strength 73, body fat 68, lean muscle mass, libido, sexual performance, facial appearance, skin tone, athletic performance, pain relief, better sleep, sense of well-being, frequency of illness, all within the range of about 70% that they improved in their health. And that is just that's just how they were feeling. You can also see how your body actually works. I know when I was going through, probably about 15 years ago, I started having problems. I would look in the mirror. I didn't like myself. I was getting fat. I was losing hair on my head. And I went to my doctor. He said I was getting hypertension. My cholesterol was going up. Went to my wife, and she even had worse news. She said I was turning into a curmudgeon. So I finally looked that word up, and I found out I was appalled, And I said, what can I do? And Sherry said, well, why don't you run some hormone levels on yourself and see if that wouldn't help. So I ran levels, and sure enough, I was very low. I started on bioidentical hormones at that time, and now that's 15 or 20 years later. I feel better myself, my brain working better, my physical fitness is very good. I lost about 30 pounds, my sexuality being better. So we've seen that work for me. Sometimes our patients ask, what's better, traditional medicine or natural medicine? And my answer for that is both. Some traditional medicine certainly is better for surgery. They've come up with miracle cures for things. But in natural medicine, we're better usually at preventing things. Natural medicine, so we practice what we call integrative medicine. That's where we unite both traditional and natural medicine together to help us. So we use the best of both worlds to help our patients. we're going to be going over men and women as we age, and I guess you can see there's a difference. And if you haven't noticed, I think what is it? John Gray has written books. Women are from Mars? No, men are from Mars. Women are from Venus, and so he talks about how we're like, I don't know, 500 million miles apart. And sometimes with what we look like, but we're also apart in our hormones, and they help us in our features and some of the good things that we like about each other. Men go through aging a little bit different with their hormones. This is men over here. This is our hormone levels, and this is age. As you can see, this line goes up. We usually go up with our hormones during puberty. We usually have good hormone levels during our 20s and 30s, and then we start this slow rate of decline. You usually don't even know it. It's only usually about 1% a year, so we don't even know it. They even have a term for it. It's called going into the gray zone. So about in this point over here, as we get older, we've gotten, our hormones have fallen, but we don't even hardly notice it. Women are different. They will notice it. Here's a woman. Here's age. Here's her hormone levels. Normally, she'll go up during puberty. Her hormones start during her reproductive years. She reaches a pretty much of a steady group of hormones. As she gets into the perimenopause, so reaching into the 40s, 50s, you'll start wobbling with your hormones. You see this wobble right here, and then all of a sudden a cataclysmic crash. So, and then they start degenerative procedures in their body. So, brain problems, vaginal dryness, skin aging, hot flashes at night can be very disconcerting for women. So we age differently in our hormone levels. These are the 7 Dwarfs of Menopause. It was coined by Suzanne Summers several years ago. And itchy, bitchy, sweaty, sleepy, bloaty, forgetful, and psycho. And I have patients that come into my office all the time, and they'll tell me, I have all these things, and can you do anything about it? And yes, we can. So as a female, if I'm doing this for usually a group of people in the audience, I'll usually get some laughs because people know that they've had this. I had a patient just, I think it was yesterday. She told me I had everything except I think she wasn't psycho. I believe that's what she claimed not to be. And so these occur all the time. We see this commonly in our practice. These are guys here, and this is how men can age or not. Which guy do you think might be following those 4 cornerstones? Which guy do you think might be balancing hormones, eating good, and getting physically fit? It becomes even more obvious if I tell you that this man is 48 and this man over here is 64. So obviously this guy's probably taking better care of himself. I always thought this guy might do better with maybe a haircut anyway. So anabolism and catabolism. So anabolism is when your body is building up. Catabolism is when it's going down. We want to help to keep our bodies in anabolism, and hormones do that. They help us in our anabolism, or keep our bodies strong and fit, and keep our brains working well. This is the way we age. These are biomarkers of aging right over here. This is our age related. This goes all the way up to 100. And we can see again this curve right here. You can see that this curve usually goes up. You reach a point at which you go over the hill. Usually occurs right in the about 20s for males and in the 30s for females. And then you can go down. We all go down as we get a little bit older, but we can control the slope of this curve. This is a good curve, this green line up here. This is the average. This is a poor one. If you'll notice on this poor curve that these people, this is death. These people die earlier. They have a longer period of time at which they have poor health. So their health starts to go bad. They usually end up on medications, and they don't have good quality of life toward the end. This is average. We'll see that usually people do pretty well until in their 60s or 70s, and then they start having problems. It might be arthritis or high blood pressure, high cholesterol, maybe heart disease. And then death, I think average now is about 82. This is where you would aspire to be on this line right here, reaching time. I don't know at what point, you want to call this. I've always thought, well, you reach this point, you probably want to put it out a little bit more. But anyway, let's just say 100 on this. But look at this line here, this green line. Look at how short that time is at which you have poor health. That's where we want to be. And a lot of times I'll have patients say, well, if I'm on this yellow line right here, if I'm average, can I get myself up on that green line? Yes. The answer is yes. And hormone balancing is one of the ways that we can get you up there, okay, onto that line. This is a timeline of a disease. We can see a well person here and a sick person here. This person has cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, heart disease, other things that we could mention. And what we'll notice is that it doesn't change. This is the timeline. It starts over here, moves this way. We notice that it doesn't happen just all at once. Unfortunately, what can happen in this timeline is we could run traditional labs in this area right here, and we would find that they would be normal. But yet this person is starting to have a condition. This person is starting to have maybe heart disease or Alzheimer's. The trouble with our traditional labs is they usually won't show any damage to the organ systems until we're probably right along this way, about 80% along. And then we start noticing that, yeah, now you're a member of the club. Now, yeah, you have heart disease or you have Alzheimer's. So traditional medicine is very good at diagnosing the condition, but natural medicine is better at preventing these conditions. So we say in natural medicine, we try to find the disease process before it finds us. We can do so by running genetic studies on people, check their toxins, the toxic burden, check their hormone balancing, check to see if they have any nutritional deficiencies. And now we have the tools to detect and correct most of these maladies before the symptoms occur. This is what it looked like in pictures. I hope you can see this online. Can you see that online, you guys? Okay, good. So this is youth. This is their age. This is the quality of life. Here we are in youth. We usually do really well until we hit, usually you're going to do well until you hit around in the 40s. People don't usually notice much change until the 40s. And then you'll start down. You can go down this line. As we said, here's a poor line. This would be people, and this is pictures of people that have done very well during the course of their life. Here's Tina Turner right there. She is on TV, actually, doing a performance of Proud Mary. She's doing the Proud Mary. She's still got a kick to her step. Okay, here's Lillian Vernon. She's 85 in this picture. She's running a Fortune 500 company. She passed at 90 years old, but had extremely good life until then. And here's a guy, Jack LaLanne. I think everybody remembers him. And he has passed also. This is him at 95. He's actually doing a commercial on TV for fitness and for food and stuff. He passed at that time. So compare that with this patient here, who's 73, partially invalid, and can't do much for themselves on quite a bit of medication. Here's somebody, remember Lillian Vernon is 85. This man is 84, totally disabled. And a lot of this is your choice. So the choices that you make every day that you can affect to stay up on that curve or head down that way. I choose to go this way. And we're going to look at how we can do that. So hormones, let's look at it. So hormones are messengers that enter your body through your bloodstream. They come from glands. A lot of people say, well, that's estrogen and testosterone, right? Yes, that's two hormones. There's thousands of hormones in their body. There's brain hormones, there's thyroid hormones, there's pituitary hormones, there's adrenal hormones, there's gonadal hormones, there's hormones in our fat and in our abdomen and our stomach even. And hormones turn on switches that regulate our well-being and our overall health. They work by a lock and key principle. So if you have a receptor site, this is a cell, all the cells in the body, the brain and the heart, the gonads, they all have receptors. These hormones come in and lock with them, come in from your glands, and they lock into receptors, and they change our well-being, but they have to be an exact lock and key. So that key has to exactly fit that lock to turn it on. The problem has been that we've been using synthetic hormones, which are kind of mimics. They're mimics of the hormones, not natural, and they're pharmaceutically made, and they try to turn on that receptor site, and they don't exactly make it turn on correctly, and there's where we see problems with them. We used to think that people had aging, that their hormones would fall. This is very important. Now we think that as our hormones fall, we have symptoms of aging. That's very important because we know that we can balance back our hormones and we can help with our aging process. So we have symptoms of aging because your hormones decline. and they help us with our mental capabilities, our sexual health, our physical strength, our body composition. So we want to get our hormones back in balance. So thyroid, let's look at thyroid, because thyroid's been around, oh my gosh, 100 years. So even when I started practicing back in Tarpon Springs, we balanced thyroid. Thyroid speeds up metabolism, it stimulates energy. A lot of times in my office, I'll find people that come in, they have thyroid problems, but the doctors have run tests and they say, oh, well, they look pretty normal to me. We run other testing, a unique testing on our thyroid, and we find out, no, you're low. You're principally low, usually in T3. That's where we usually find it. So deficient, you feel cold, you're fatigued, especially in the morning and the evening, not relieved by sleep. You have depression, dry thinning hair, cold hands and feet. Your weight increases without changing anything. You have stiff joints. You feel better after exercise. Isn't that an odd symptom of deficient thyroid, that you feel better after exercise? Why would that be? Well, your body warms up. But when your body warms up, you feel better. So remember that thyroid people tend to be cold. In balance, you improve memory, concentration, warms the body, stimulates fat burning, dissolves cholesterol, opens up the arteries, improves blood flow, reduces risks of heart disease and cancer. That's what we're talking about growing better, growing healthier as you get older, and balancing hormones. So thyroid has been non-controversial and has been around for a long time. Progesterone is primarily a female hormone, so found in males. Progesterone protects the prostate glands in males, and occasionally we'll give it to males if they have large prostates or having trouble with urination. Deficient in females, it causes PMS and depression. It causes heavy bleeding, bloating, weight gain, fluid retention, irritability, insomnia, endometriosis, fibroids, adenomyosis, and cancer. So if you can get deficient progesterone balanced, it elevates moods, helps with regular menses, maintains blood sugar, burns fat. It's a natural diuretic, has a calming effect, especially sleep. So I see a lot of women that have sleep disorders. How is that? They'll tell me as they were usually a pretty good sleeper, but as they got in toward the perimenopause and the menopause, that they start being unable to sleep well. And we give them natural progesterone back, and usually the sleep occurs usually within 2 to 3 days. So they're really happy. In fact, that's one of the first things that happens. It preserves normal breast and uterus, prevents cancer. Natural hormones. We were having problems. I think one of the problems was the progestins. If you look here at the bottom, progestins or progestogens are not natural progesterone. That's what they normally put in the synthetic hormones, is progestins or progestogens. They increase cancer risk of the breast somewhere in the range of about 60%. So we do not like to use those. Estrogen is a female hormone. It's produced in the ovaries, but can be produced in fat cells and the adrenal glands. So males can actually produce it in fat and our adrenal, and a lot of times us guys don't like to have it because it makes us fat. I actually had high estrogens. That was one of my problems, and it gives guys kind of breasts, and I was having that problem too, and I didn't like it. Deficient, you have depression, you have hot flashes, hair loss, and hair growth in the places you don't want it. Fine wrinkles around the lips, vaginal dryness, lack of sexual desire, menstrual problems, loss of figure. Imbalanced, it helps maintain feminine features. And women ask me about that all the time. What about my skin? My skin seems to be aging too fast. It helps smooth wrinkles, unwrinkled skin. Positive mood, enthusiasm. So what about my mood? I don't seem to have that mood that I used to have, that positive mood I used to have. Desire for sex and love, they miss that, as they get older. Protects the bones and the brain and the heart, and it supports immunity. Remember that the estrogens that we're talking about here are different from the synthetic hormones. Synthetic hormones are patented hormones. We'll look at that. Right here they are. Here's pharmaceutical hormones. They're chemically different from the bioidentical hormones, the natural hormones, the ones that are actually exactly like the lock and the key principle that we just talked about. They're exactly the same molecule that your body's made when you were younger. So they're exactly correct. The pharmaceutical hormone starts off weird. Okay, they start off as horse marrow, urine, and kerosene. Bioidentical hormones start off as soy and yam. Okay, one of my staff asked me, "Can you eat a lot of potatoes and get, progesterone?" I guess you could. You'd have to eat a lot of potatoes, I think. And yes, you can get soy. You can eat soy. Soy is a phytoestrogen. This is a one-size-fits-all. These are individually assessed, so we tweak them until we just get them exactly balanced to fit you. These are not balanced. These are balanced. These expect side effects. These side effects are rare. These increase inflammation. They increase blood clots. They increase cancer. They increase heart disease. They increase Alzheimer's. These decrease inflammation. They do not increase blood clots. They do not increase cancer risks. They decrease heart risk somewhere in the range of 50%, and Alzheimer's risk in the range of 50%. Testosterone is considered a hormone of virility, but it's important to men and women. Women seem to have the same effects from testosterone that men, exception of two of these, which happen to be the erection and the prostate. So, because you guys don't have those parts, okay? So deficient have low sexual desire, weakens erection, ejaculation. Prostate is thick and soft. You have fatigue, memory suffers, lose competitive drive, depression, and grumpy. Now, by the way, depression and grumpy, I think that is the definition of curmudgeon right there. So that's where I was. Flabby muscles and beer belly, I was getting that, and appearance of hips and breasts, and I was actually getting that. Balanced, you have sharpness of mind, stimulates erection in men, stimulates libido in both men and women. It reduces risk of heart disease and angina, counters high cholesterol, builds and tones muscle. It reduces fat and obesity. It stimulates hair growth. It prevents joint and muscle pain. In fact, Dr. Bredesen, in his book, The End of Alzheimer's, lists testosterone as being one of the main ones that you can take to help with Alzheimer's. It decreases, I think, Alzheimer's. Actually, all the hormones together decrease Alzheimer's in the range of about 50%. So it's one of the main things that you can do to help your brain and cognition as you get older. Growth hormone, it's necessary as children to help us grow. It is our most powerful anti-aging hormone because it helps with connective tissue. When it's deficient, you have a sagging face, your body loses its elasticity, thinning skin, less muscle, extra weight, fatigue, anxiety, depression, low resistance to stress, and you feel incompetent. When it's balanced, it maintains good muscle tone, decreases fat, provides energy, restores restful sleep. So it works in synergy with all the other hormones. It lessens anxiety, you have a feeling of serenity and security. Endurance, especially endurance sports people love this. So if you're a biker or swimmer or even a runner and you're trying to do that at the master's level, this really helps you with your endurance. People that do these sports really can feel the difference. Strong bones and joints protects the heart, brain, and the thymus. Thymus is one that protects our immune system, very valuable during the time of COVID. I balance my growth hormone. It's one of the hormones that I started taking about 15 years ago, and I've noticed that my skin has become more elastic. I can usually pick somebody up in my peer group at 74, and you usually won't find that type of flexibility or elasticity in the skin if you're not balancing with growth hormone. This is we're going to show 3 patients here tonight. We'll show some pictures. If you know any of these people, then they've okayed so that we can show them here as an example what we can do. I don't think you can see this. I can barely see it right where I am. This profile shows some hormones. This is hormones of Jack. Jack came to me. His wife actually asked me to see him. She said, he's not the man he used to be. I'm worried about him. He had a lot of symptoms that I was having, and she was worried about him. So I saw Jack, what's going on? He said, I don't know. My wife asked me to come in. So, he said, well, I think I'm just aging. I'm just getting older. Jack was only 50 years old. I said, good night, Jack. So I said he'd run some labs with his doctor. Again, they didn't find anything. Like I said, traditional labs won't usually show some of this. So I said, let's run some hormone profiles on you. Let's see where you are. We ran some hormones, and sure enough, he had really bad hormones. His testosterone, which should be around 800, is 156. He just didn't have any wind in his cells. This guy was out of gas. His estrogen was high, like mine. His growth hormone was high. This is Jack right here to start with. This is June the 6th. This is November the 1st. Then that length of time, he had lost 50 pounds. Now, he didn't just take hormones and lose 50 pounds. He got in, he started exercising. Why is that? He started feeling good. He had been laying on the couch. He had been on a lot of medication. He went off all the medication. He started getting up and doing stuff because he felt good. He had his chutzpah back again. This is Jackie K. She's 37 years old, divorced, dating, has 2 children, 8 and 10. She's a medical assistant, no alcohol or drugs abuse. She eats well, she exercises, she takes vitamins. You would think, well, gosh, she should be doing great, but she wasn't. She wasn't feeling good at all. Headaches, breast tenderness, weight gain. She had 10 pounds, bloating, swelling of the ankles and feet, food cravings, painful menstruation. She wasn't feeling good at all. Her emotionality was even worse. She was having anxiety, panic, depression, irritability, increased guilt, decreased self-image, low sex drive, and fatigue. Not good if you're trying to date, having all those things. We ran hormone levels on Jackie, and we found out that her estrogen was too high. So you can have, especially in the perimenopause or in younger women, you can have the estrogen too high. This is called estrogen dominance. We see this all the time. The progesterone was very, very low. The testosterone was low. The DHEA, or adrenal hormones, were low. And her hormones were actually pumping. They were doing really good. And she had some hormones that are for depression and also for a panic disorder. Her cortisol was low. So not a good way to be for her. We were able to get her hormones balanced with natural hormones. And she had everything pretty much went away. All her complaints, the complaints, emotional symptoms went away. We did have to give her Xanax a little bit at first for her panic disorder, but she went off of that once she started sleeping good and got her panic under control. This is Shelly R, and this Shelly is a pretty good example of a lot of our patients. This is a 55-year-old female. She had 2 children, 1 grandchild. She had a hysterectomy. Her diet, she had carb cravings. She kind of had a carb craving for fast food, liked ice cream. Okay, 2 drinks of wine a night. She exercised 3 times a week. She walked. She took calcium and vitamins, and she tried Premarin one time. That's a synthetic hormone. Okay, that's actually made from horse mare's urine. That's one of the ones. Okay, so and she had problems. She gained weight on that. She came in with complaints. She had weight gain. Bone density was terrible. She had minus 3.7. Her cholesterol was 237. Her HDL was 35. Her LDL was 165. What she has there is her cholesterol numbers were high, and her good cholesterol was down, and her bad cholesterol was elevated. So going in the wrong place. Her blood pressure was a little elevated. She felt flabby, had bad vaginal dryness, no sex drive at all. Emotional, poor sleep, irritable in the morning. She was tired at night. She had hot flashes. Night sweats, less mental focus, and low energy levels. So not doing well at all. We ran her hormones to see. Her estrogen was low, very low. Her progesterone was very low. Testosterone was very low. DHEA, the adrenal hormones, were low. And her FSH, her follicle stimulating hormones, showed that she was in definite need for hormones herself. Growth hormone was low. Insulin was high. You don't want a high insulin level. High insulin means when you eat food, it doesn't go into energy for your body. It goes into fat. So you're just accumulating. Her thyroid was low. So we were able to balance her and all these hormones, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, the thyroid. We gave her back some adaptogens to help her with her cortisol. And her iodine was low too. We gave her a little extra iodine to help. So she was able to get past that, lost the weight, and almost all her symptoms of aging cleared up. And we see this all the time. We see this from time to time on all of our patients. Why would you want to invest in your health? Why would you want to come to a place such as the Renewal Point? Because you live a longer and healthier life. And you invest in your car, you invest in your computers, you invest in your home. And this is the one thing that you can invest in that you're going to have all your life is your health. If you don't have your health, it's very hard to have anything. I see men especially come down from up north. They've busted it with business. They just trashed themselves. They're train wrecks when they come down because they've gotten all this money and they're living really good down here, or could live good, but they don't have their health. They don't have the quality of life. So to get them to start putting them back together, to get them into an exercise program, get their hormones balanced, get their nutrition fixed up. And it increases endurance and energy. It helps you stay in the game, especially if you like sports. Your performance increases, your strength increases. It protects the brain, gets you fit, protects your heart, lose weight. Just sexuality. If you just had your sexuality, what would that be worth to you? So investing in your health. Okay. This is how you can call for an appointment. This is our very high-tech person that we have on our phone, as you can see. We have all the modern technology. So you can call our office to schedule an appointment, or a telemed. You can call and get an appointment with me online. And we even have home hormone testing available if you don't want to go to the lab. So this is our seminar for tonight. And I think do we have any questions from the audience? So I've been, Tammy?
Dr. Watts, does hormone balancing increase the risk of cancer?
Okay. So the main thing, I guess, because we can go over a lot of different things, but let's go over breast cancer for females, and let's go over prostate cancers for males. So a lot of science evidence-based studies have been done in the last few years. Dr. Morgan Taylor, doctor at Harvard, a urologist at Harvard, has been studying testosterone and prostate cancer in males. What he found out is there's no increased risk of prostate cancer in males with taking natural bioidentical testosterone. If they take the testosterone like it's at a gym, or the synthetic types that some people take for like muscle building or something, that's all out, because those do increase cancer risk. But the natural ones don't. And now, when I started school, it was thought that taking testosterone would increase the cancer risk of prostates. Now, no, not to. He went back somewhere in the 80 years to follow in the literature and research, and pretty much all the urologists are going with that. We even have patients, even if you've had prostate cancer, once it's killed, that can go back on hormones with the okay from their oncologist. In females, a lot of tests have been performed, but Fournier in France started probably about 15 to 20 years ago studying that. Remember, I told you Europe was one of the first ones to look at bioidentical hormones because they thought that the synthetics were causing trouble. He studied 80,000 women for over 10 years, but reported in the literature that he had zero relative risk. So the risk of not taking any hormones versus taking bioidentical hormones was a relative risk of zero. Doesn't mean you can't get it. It means it doesn't increase your risk over the natural population. He found out that the estrogens, I think, increased it somewhere in the range, or synthetic, somewhere in the range of 30%. And the progesterones, we already talked, increase in the range of somewhat like 60%. So the synthetics seem to increase that. Dr. Fournier, you can look this up, this research up, it's continuing. So he's continued to follow this group and continues to have the same statistics. So science evidence-based research says that the done by a doctor, balanced correctly using the natural bioidentical hormones, would be safe, like for breast and prostate.
Can hormone balancing help with acne?
So can hormone balancing help with acne? So that's a real common thing, and I get that normally in the 20s and 30s. Acne can be very disconcerting, even younger females. And yes, so acne, we usually run hormones on the patients. We sometimes even send them to dermatologists. So we're usually working with the dermatologist on this. So we're doing the hormone balancing, and they're helping with the direct skin. And what we find is that a lot of times they'll have increased androgens, so DHEA from the adrenal gland and or from the gonads. So when young girls start through puberty and then on up, we see them up into their even 30s and even 40s with that. Sometimes they can have hair growth associated with that. And then we're able to help balance that. Sometimes we would use birth control pills, especially if they're sexually active. We might use other things such as spironolactone or finasteride to help. Sometimes they're losing hair along with acne, the bad condition, okay, and so we want to get the hair back to have it come back full, get rid of the hair where they don't want it, and get rid of the acne. So yes, you can help acne with hormone balancing.
One more. At what age do you recommend starting hormone balancing?
At what age do you start hormone balancing? Okay, now that's a pretty tough one because it's very individualized. I have a patient that I just saw the other day. She's probably, Tammy, in about her 40s. I was very surprised to see her hormones come back. And she'd been had a pretty healthy lifestyle, but her hormones were gone. She was going through menopause at the age of 40, so she was having early menopause. If a woman has surgery, it usually affects the hormones. If you're estrogen dominant, which can happen in your younger years, if you have acne or you have too high of testosterone or your adrenal glands go badly, a lot of women will have thyroid problems. So all these hormones can go off as you get older, so it's very individualized. If you have symptoms of hormone imbalance, it's usually good to get to have somebody that studies this, a specialist, to run tests on yourself to check to see if this could be hormone imbalances. So I hope that answers your question tonight. We went over the hormones for men and for women and the differences between them. We went over the benefits. We went over a lot of the risks. We went over the difference between the natural and the synthetic hormones. So I hope you've gotten some benefit. Stay tuned on our website. We'll have also the thyroid and the adrenal axis coming up shortly. Okay, so good night, and y'all have a good night and stay safe.